The Duke of Edinburgh's youngest granddaughter shared a key passion with him, carriage driving. Louise, who is the daughter of Prince Edward and Sophie, Countess of Wessex, has enjoyed the sport, which was popularized in the UK by Philip himself, for several years now. She has been pictured joyfully carriage driving numerous times, sometimes with her mother Sophie alongside her. She was even responsible for leading the carriages of the Champagne-Laurent-Perrier meet of the British Driving Society at the Royal Windsor Horse Show in May 2017. Louise therefore looks set to carry on her grandfather's passion project. Philip helped draw up the rules for how the sport is played and enjoyed the pastime right up unto his 90s. His love for the sport was even represented by a polished dark green carriage on the procession route at Windsor Castle at the weekend, along with his black fell ponies, Balmoral Nevis and Knotlaw Storm. The Duke competed in numerous competitions right up into his 80s and continued to drive his team of fell ponies around the royal estates from the box seat of a carriage he designed himself even later than that. He first took up an interest in carriage driving in his 50s, when his arthritic wrist forced him to give up polo. In a book about the sport, Philip said, "I am getting old, my reactions are getting slower, and my memory is unreliable, but I have never lost the sheer pleasure of driving a team through the British countryside." The Countess of Wessex said in a tribute this week at Windsor that she recalled Philip being pulled out of a few ditches here. Penelope Knatchbull, who was one of the 30 guests at Philip's funeral, was his carriage driving partner for a number of years. Louise and her brother James, Viscount 7, 13, were the only children at the Duke's funeral. The pair looked emotional as they stood with their parents in St. George's Chapel. The Wessexes are known to be very close to the Queen, and indeed Philip before he died. They lived the closest to Windsor Castle and would often pop over for tea or a horse ride with Her Majesty. Sophie told Sky News' Rhiannon Mills in 2016 that they see quite a lot of the Queen because they spent most weekends at Windsor Castle. She added, "I think having those times together in the summer allows those relationships. We're a lot more fortunate because we live so much closer to the Queen. So when she spends a lot of time in Windsor at weekends, our children are more fortunate, because they can go over and have tea with her on a regular basis. So we do see quite a lot of her and we're over there most weekends riding, so she sees quite a lot of us. Lucky her." The children also loved their summer holidays at Balmoral and impressed the Queen with their skills. For Louise, it was drawing and looking after William and Kate's children. For James it was fly fishing. A royal insider told The Sun in 2019, "The Queen loves the fact that Louise and James relish their time at Balmoral, and she has become particularly close to Louise, who seems to have become her favorite grandchild, closely followed by James." Louise also endeared herself to everyone by looking after William and Kate's children when they were up here. In an adorable insight into the Queen and Louise's relationship, Sophie once revealed that when her daughter was young she had no concept that her grandmother was the monarch. She only became aware of how important her grandmother was in national life when other children at school started to mention it. Sophie explained, "Louise had no concept, really, that the Queen and her grandmother were one and the same person. It wasn't until she was at school where other children were mentioning and saying, 'Your grandmother's Queen.' She'd come home and say, 'Mummy, they say that Grandmama is the Queen.' And I said, 'Yes,' and she said, 'I don't understand what they mean.'